Good morning, guys. How are we doing today? It's kind of a different view when you're sitting down and you're actually in front of all you guys. So I wanted to share my story. I'm actually a little nervous, so just bear with me. Take it easy on me. But growing up as a kid, I would kind of started off, going to church. I had basic curiosities of, religion, of Jesus. And was very optimistic, grew up reading the Bible, thought I was on a really good path with it. Fast forward until, high school, I started getting a bit more pessimistic. I don't know if you guys have ever, when we first started praying, you kind of start thinking, someone truly out there listening to me, And as a kid, I always assumed, yes, it is, but the older you get, the more you're I don't know. Fast forward from there into college, I actually went through arguably roughest phase of my life. I lost a lot of just my faith, made some bad decisions, and then ultimately on top of that, just overall, my light of faith grew dimmer and dimmer until I kind of started questioning God, and I grew kind of angry at God. I started looking at what other people had, education people had, friends people had, et cetera, how it goes. And I remember thinking I've always prayed to you, I've always asked, you're never giving me anything. So I stepped away. Emotionally for me to talk about, I apologize, but it wasn't until I think 2021 where I kind of decided, the darkest part, suffered a lot from depression, and I kind of decided to try it out again. So I started praying again. I remember the first time I went back to pray again, I kind of thought to myself again that no one was listening, and I kind of grew more into despair until I watched a YouTube video talking about prayers of appreciation, where instead of asking God, hey, give me this, God, I want this, I deserve this, just take a step back and be thankful for what you have. So kind of started the routine every morning of just thanking God for the most basic things, thank you for waking me up, thank you for returning the soul back to my body. And I kind of grew to realize that all of the things that I was wishing for God to give me, friends, family, and love, I already had. I was just too arrogant to realize it. A big impact of my faith as well are the Heiningers at the church. Getting a little choked up, I apologize. I just seeing them as a family, just loving God unapologetically, was just inspiring to me. And I had another friend in college. His name was Andrew Swadan. And seeing his passion for God, seeing his love for God was extremely inspiring. And so there was actually a day in June where one day I kind of prayed, and the prayers of appreciation were happening, but I still felt very unsatisfied with life. I was a server. I didn't like serving. Not that there's anything wrong with serving, but I just kind of thought to myself, why is there not more? And so I remember the first time I prayed for something back, and I remember praying to God. I was hey, if I'm worth anything, give me a sign. This is not where I want to be in life. At 25, I want to be a little better, obviously make more money, but I just want to be happier in life. And the next morning, a certain stranger sat at my booth, and this guy was asking me questions, yada, 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 and man, actually turned out to be my future boss at his company. And at the end of it, ironically enough, following the morning of just saying a random prayer and just throwing a shot in the dark, and I found an incredible company. I'm very fortunate to work for them. And it was kind of at that moment I had an epiphany where, after realizing that everything I've ever wanted with God, I already had. And then talking with the Heiningers, my friend Andrew, I made the decision to get baptized, which I was also incredibly nervous about because it's a massive commitment. And so I talked to the Heiningers, I talked to my friend Andrew, and ultimately I talked to Kevin and said, hey, I want to be baptized. And I met Kevin in a Starbucks. I was actually a little late, car issues. I thought maybe I had ruined my chance then too. And I'm gonna tell you what, when I eventually got baptized in November, and looking back into my life now to where it was like a year ago, 2 years ago, it's almost night and day different, you know? And I still suffer through the same, problems like day to day. It's life. But after getting into those waters and being baptized, it just changed my overall perspective. Instead of being hopeless, I'm hopeful knowing that God has my back. And I'm no longer going through the issues alone. And another thank you just to the Grace Fishers in general. This is the longest I've ever been to church. I was actually looking at my Snapchat memories. I've been going here for a little over a year now. And this is just a very special place. And I'm very fortunate to be here. Sorry if I was getting a little nervous, a little shaky there, but I appreciate you guys, listening to my story. So if I have ever any parting advice, just if you're going through something, take a step back and just pray. Pray to yourself, and you'd be surprised about the results. Thank you guys for listening. God bless, and I hope you have a good Sunday. Thank you for letting me share my story.